Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Together We Battle podcast. We are so happy to have you with us today, and I have someone as a guest that is a psychotherapist, a corporate wellness coach, and also an author, and she focuses on radical self-care in the hustle culture, which we all can connect with, I'm sure, in some way. So I wanted to have her on today because she has some amazing programs that she does, some retreats, and it's just going to be such a beautiful opportunity for all of you to have a connection with her and utilize some of her work. So, Joelle, welcome. We're happy to have you.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here, Jessica. Thanks for having me on. It's such a treat to be here, truly.
Of course, this is so fun. I love this because in this community, we focus on everybody has a dark season in life. Everybody has struggles that they deal with. So how can we give them tangible daily things that they may need to pull from their bag of tricks to get through those stressful times and stay stronger and healthier as they do so moving forward? So can you share with us a little bit about your story and how you ended up creating what you have done?
So thanks so much for having me here, truly. It's just a thrill to be on, honestly. So I am a high achiever. I've always been a high achiever, and we're going to talk about what that looks like now. That's the point of this interview. But how we kind of got here is, ever since I can remember, I was a high achiever. I always tell the story about how when I was a kid, literally a child, my favorite toy was my clipboard, and I would run around the neighborhood organizing the other children. And my mom just going, I don't know what to do with this. Like, can you just play with like a Barbie or whatever? And I'm over here going, but I have, an agenda for the children, the neighborhood. So I've always been this way.
That is hysterical.
But yeah, back in the 1980s and 90s when I was growing up, my birthday is around Earth Day, and I had a petition that I took around my little neighborhood and had people sign this petition promising that they would not use products that harm the ozone because there was a hole in the ozone. And my mom was a hairdresser, and I went to her shop and I was like, get all this aerosol. It's like, you can throw all your stuff out. Like, this is ruining the ozone. And she's just over in the corner going, oh my God. So
That is so funny.
always, literally, I think this is just who I am as a human person, is a community organizer and someone who sees a need and wants to change and be a high achiever while doing it, right? And so this is just, it's how I've always been. So, go to college, start working out in the world. And actually, I'm a therapist now, but I did not go to college originally for therapy. And so I started working in the corporate world and had success early on. And, I always had this dream of like, the first dream was like, if I could make $50,000 a year, that would be amazing. Right. And then after that, it was, if I could make $100,000 a year, whoa. Right. And so I just went for it. For in my 20s, like these were my goals of like, buy a house and like, whatever. And so I started kind of making my way through my career, and year over year was getting promotions and moving to different positions that were always a step up, if you will, in both title, responsibility, and also certainly a step up in terms of what I was making financially. Had a few jobs where I traveled a lot, so that was like super exciting, and just always on the go. And then
Dun dun.
And then things started to fall apart. I got married in my 20s. That marriage was ending in a fiery crash of nonsense. And so then I was like, okay, well, now I'm rebuilding, and now I'm divorced in my 30s, and all of these. I dove headfirst into my career even further to avoid the emotional stuff that needed dealt with. I was like, well, I can easily avoid that by working. Get out my clipboard and go organize some people. I know how to do this very well. And so again, had lots of great success, and I started buying not just one house, but bought multiple homes and like all of these things. And I started to notice in myself as well as those around me, people who seemed to have it together and seemed to, quote, have it all. And I started noticing these little threads of like, oh, wait a minute. That person there's something going on there. Maybe they don't quite have it all, right? Or maybe they drive, the big fancy car, and then I'm riding in the car with them and I'm thinking, dang, I hope I afford a car like this one day. And then they start crying because they're like, my husband's cheating on me. And I'm like, whoa, or, talk to a friend and say, how you doing? Like, how's your week been? I haven't talked to you for a couple days or whatever. And the friend goes, well, I cried at my desk all day at work. I'm like, why? And sometimes they can't even answer that question. They're like, I don't know, I'm just overwhelmed, right? Then I started seeing that my career path was sort of where I was in the organizational chart. I'm like, well, I could easily get to the top of this organization, right? I could easily be whatever in the C-suite. And I started noticing that those folks were having, heart attacks and working on vacation. And I started noticing that, people above me would come back from a week's vacation and we'd say, hey, how was your vacation? And they would say, well, I worked the whole time. And I also noticed that even friends, family members would say things like, I'm going on vacation, but I got my phone with me. So if you need anything, I'm going to the Bahamas, but I got my laptop, so don't hesitate. Please reach out because I'll have my laptop with me. And we all have been on both sides of that conversation. And so one day I just kind of went, what are we doing? That's the title of my book, but it's like literally, what are we doing? And more importantly, why are we doing this? Which could be the name of the next book. I don't know yet, but hopefully all this story I've told here has kind of made sense, but it's true. We look around, I'm like, am I doing this because I get paid well? And you kind of get in that. It's like, where on earth could I make this kind of money? Well, I better stay here. It's feels secure, right? People say you have this secure job. Actually, you don't. And if something happened to you, or if you retired or left the company, you would be replaced in a second, or maybe you wouldn't even be replaced. Maybe they take this opportunity to downsize the department, which I've seen that happen as well. I've left organizations where after I left, the entire department got downsized. So I'm thinking, well, I would have lost my job anyhow. Right. So I think there's this false sense of like, I have this secure job, and it's gone are the days of our sort of grandparents and parents where you had one career for 40 years and you got the gold watch and you left. That's not really how we work now. And so, but I think there's this, we stay longer than we probably should be staying or could be, because we can't see a different way, but we also know that what we're doing isn't sustainable. So that brings us to where we are. I'm happy to fill in any gaps in that story. I feel like that was like a 40-year timeline in about 3 minutes.
No, that was perfect. I hear you on all angles of everything you've just shared with people. And I'm sure everybody that's listening to this is like, oh my God, yes, yes. Every single thing you said, people connect with every day, right? You think, and it's like that whole idea of perception, right? The perception is on the outside, they've got the high paying job and they've got this beautiful home and these nice cars and their kids are perfect and dressed and everything is perfect and pristine. And deep down, they hate their life.
Yeah.
And that's hard to come to that realization of like, this is literally killing me.
And yes. And maybe sometimes, yes, it's like, man, I am just really unhappy and I don't even know why, right? I can't qualify the piece that's missing, because I think that if you went up to a random person and said, wow, your kids are amazing and your husband's gorgeous and your car is like my dream and I just saw you went on this great vacation. And even if that person said like, yeah, I mean, I'm all right. I don't even think they could qualify, at least not immediately, what's not quite right, you know? Or they might think their life is normal, meaning, yeah, I'm really tired, but that's the way it is.
Mhm.
I am a stay-at-home mom or I'm a working mom, both equally very difficult things to do. And they're like, that's just the way it is. I work and I got the kids and the laundry and the dance recital and blah, 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 and that's just life. It's what we do, that's just the way it is. But we don't have to like white knuckle our way through it. We don't have to suffer our way through it.
Right. Exactly. So, talk us through why the hustle culture is so harmful and how does it impact not just mentally, but physically your health?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the hustle culture teaches us that we are rewarded by doing things.
Mm.
We are valued by what we produce. So our self-worth is now tied to what we accomplish, right? That if I could say it in one sentence, that's it. And so even from a young age, right? Like I remember, going to my grandfather's house every Sunday for Sunday dinner. It's what we did in my family. And every Sunday it was like, tell Pap what you did this week.
Hmm.
It was never tell Pap how you are this week. It was tell Pap what you did this week. Here's my report card. Here's my science fair ribbon. The dance recital was great. Tell Pap what you did. Tell us like what you did, right? It was never about how are you. And it was also never, you're never really taught to sort of value your own worth. You're never really taught that, it's are you kind? Who did you help today? Did you sit at the lunch table where no other kids would sit? Were you helpful to the teacher, to the friend who's struggling to read? It's all about, did you ace your math test? Were you good? Were you a good girl? Meaning, did you fall in line? Did you follow the rules? Right? But we're not really taught to lean into who you are. And even as you're getting ready to graduate high school, people say, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, I'm going to go to the military. Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to go to a trade school. Oh, that's so cool. I'm going to go to a 4-year college. Okay, what are you going to major in? I'm going to major in business. What do you want to do with that degree?
Hmm.
Law school next? Like, I haven't even finished high school and you've already got me going to law school, right? I think I'm going to be a biology major. Oh, med school? I don't know. What? Like, it's always, what's the next achievement? We haven't even achieved this achievement yet. But it's always, what do you want to do? A better question for high schoolers and even those in college and even people in their 40s is, what kind of life do you envision yourself having? What kind of life do you want to have? You know, if you ask that 17-year-old girl, maybe she says, I really don't ever see myself being married. I'd like to have a partner, but I really don't see myself being married. I see myself doing XYZ thing, right? Okay, great. Let's cultivate that for you. Let's build a life. Let's help you do the things, have the tools so you can build a life that you want. Whenever I talk to college students, excuse me, and I say, what's your major? Oh, I'm pre-law, whatever, criminal justice or political science or whatever. And I say, oh, you want to go to law school? Oh yeah, I'm going to law school. Okay. What kind of life do you want to have? How do you see yourself? Well, I would really love to not work as hard as my parents did. They worked a lot. So I see myself, I'd love to find a place where I could work like 4 days a week and like go camping on the weekends. Like, have you ever talked to anyone who practices law? Because that's not their life, right? They work like 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week. And so what they want to do and what they want for their life are at odds with each other.
Hmm.
And the hustle culture doesn't allow us to really ever evaluate that for ourselves. What the hustle culture does is says, what are you going to do?
Hmm.
What, not who do you want to be? I want to be a person who is peaceful. I want to be a person who's happy. I want to be a person who, you know, name your value, right? I want to feel connected to my community. I want to travel. I value travel, whatever. But they don't, all they want to know is what are you going to do? What are you going to do with that? And we even do that, you go on one date with someone, or you think he's the one. Good grief. I don't
Right.
know. And then you're dating for like a year. You think he's going to ask you to marry him? As soon as he asks you to marry him, you guys can have kids.
Right.
Then you're pregnant. We can have another one. Like, holy crap, we are all about achievement in every area of our life.
Hmm.
It's all about the next achievement. And that is what the hustle culture does. That was a really long answer. Sorry about that.
No, that's perfect. And you're exactly right. It's always about what's next, what's next, what's next, what's next. Instead of, I find myself in my phase now appreciating the process. Yes, I have goals. Of course, I have little milestones I want to hit in terms of getting to those goals. But I also appreciate the piece of my life that I have now that is calm and is not hustle related and is not I'm going to miss all these things with my kids because I'm going to go over here and do all these things to get to that goal. It's enjoying the process too.
Yeah.
And that a lot of times, particularly in corporate world, isn't an option. It's hit the goals, get the numbers, drive the team.
Yeah. And what happens as soon as you hit those goals? What's your goal for next year? 10% more. 10% more. 20% more. Right? And it's wild. Like, I remember every time I got my annual evaluation, it was always like, oh, you did such a great job. And, whatever, you hit your goal, your annual goal in month 6 of the fiscal year. So this year we're going to increase your goal. It's like, it's just never like, and no, again, no one ever said like, what part of your job fulfills you? Is there a piece that you would like to explore more? A piece of yourself you'd like to develop more? No one ever asked you those questions. It's what do you want? What can you produce for us? And so the toll that this takes on our mental health certainly is everything from generalized anxiety, irritability, stress, overwhelm, burnout, ruminating thoughts. On the physical side, it's exhaustion, it's GI issues, it's infertility, it's eczema, it's achy joints. So many people attribute those things to either their age or their genetics or whatever. Or, yeah, I've just been working a lot, so I'm just a little tired. Yeah, or maybe what you need is some rest, and rest and sleep are very different mechanisms. I talk about that a lot in my book. And, if no matter how much sleep you get, you're still tired, more sleep isn't the answer. It's really not what you need. What you need instead is probably rest. And even things like, your hair is a little drier than it normally is, or, you're like, man, I've just had this like dull headache. I don't know what's going on. Just plow through. I have this headache. I'm just going to pop 2 Advil and keep on working because I got to get this done, and it's like,
True.
yeah, again, what are we doing?
True. And the stress can lead to some really serious disease.
It sure can,
It's tough. That happened to me, and it is not an easy thing to deal with. But on the outside of that, 5 years later, I'm very conscious of the decisions I make. So in a sense, it's a learning tool, not how I wanted to get here, but it was a learning tool.
Well, it's, unfortunately, but I guess fortunately, what happened to you made you stop and go, what am I doing?
Yes.
How did I get here?
Yep.
My God.
Yep.
Right?
What am I doing? Exactly.
It stops you in your tracks and makes you go, dang, and certainly we're not implying that people are causing their own cancer, right? We're not implying that this isn't a blame game. And this isn't also to say that this is bad and this over here is good or better. It's just really to bring awareness of what you do in your lifestyle definitely affects your health. And so maybe just getting curious about that, right? So I just want to be clear about that. We're not cancer shaming people here, right?
Correct.
Very clear.
Oh.
Jessica
No.
did not cause her own disease. None of us cause our own disease.
No, absolutely not.
In this context, be aware.
Yes, absolutely. Just being aware and conscious of the choices you're making from a wellness perspective, kind of as a whole.
Yep, exactly.
So what would be some strategies that you could share with people to help manage stress, avoid burnout, and those types of things in their life?
Yeah, the easiest thing to manage our stress is taking breaks. And the mechanism is super easy. The challenge is we don't do it. The thing, I have a method called press pause, and I'll get into the mechanics of that here in just a minute. But before I do that, the thing that I hear over and over and over and over from individual clients, from corporate clients, from friends, from everyone is we fail to give ourselves permission to take a break. I can't take a break because if I do, I'm a bad name your thing, right? I'm a bad partner, mother, employee, friend, daughter, sister, right? If I take a break, I'm bad at that. And so it's in the boundary setting around our energy and wanting to take breaks lies in we are so afraid of what that boundary is going to do to the relationship. And therefore we are afraid to give ourselves permission. We are people-pleasing perfectionists running around the world trying to show our value through how we show up. And it's in that giving the permission where the magic really lies. So really wanted to say that first.
Yeah.
And so how do we do this? So in this method I call press pause. A lot of other practitioners have very similar tools. They call them all sorts of different things. But here's how it works. I have a little 5-step process. Super easy to understand, difficult to give yourself permission to do it. So this first step is schedule it. Put it on your calendar. You put everything else on that dang calendar. Where's your break? Where's your break? It's not on there. So I started doing that myself. And it's really interesting what happens because it actually tells anyone else who can see your calendar, shows them that I'm not available right now. And I literally put Joelle break. And
Awesome.
I usually block it for about 30 minutes. Don't usually ever maybe take the whole 30 minutes. Sometimes I take 45, depends. So the first thing in this 5-step process, schedule it. So you just want to schedule it out. Step 2 is time it out. A few minutes is really all you need to sort of reset the nervous system in terms of completing what is called the stress response cycle. We can complete the stress response cycle in a very, very short amount of time. And then we sort of get rid of it. I don't want to go into the science of that right now, but we sort of help, sort of decrease our stress or process our stressors or overwhelm. And then we create more capacity for more. And it only takes really a few minutes to do that. What I hear a lot is people say, I don't have time for a break. And I go, I bet you if I looked at your calendar, I could find space for you to take a break because it only really takes 5-10 minutes to do this. So you're going to schedule it. You're going to time it out. The third step is no technology and no talking. So this is very difficult for people to understand because they go, oh, I'm on break.
Right.
I'm going to catch up on all those text messages I missed while I was on my last meeting, right? No technology, no, and also no talking to another human. And here's why. The technology is giving you more blue light. So you need to walk away from the computer, from the iPad, from the phone, from the watch, from all of it. Walk away. Get up. We got to put the technology down. There are some new stats out there that are showing that we look at our devices about 2,600 times a day. That is thousands of times a day. We are getting artificial blue light, endocrine disrupting messages into ourselves, and we got to stop that. So no technology. And if you cannot walk away from the technology for 10 minutes, then you need to book an appointment with me immediately. We got to work on this. So, but the thing about no talking to another human, here's why. For those who work in an office or some kind of a situation where there's other people around you, most people are generally doing one of 3 things. If you use active listening and really start to listen to conversations, people are usually doing one of 3 things. They are usually either complaining, preparing, or celebrating something. And so if they're complaining about something, it's probably work, right? So you're trying to take a break and you walk down the hall to talk to your best friend, Sharon, and you go in her office with your coffee and you're like, what's up, girl? I'm going to take a little break with you, which is great. We want connection. But Sharon's like, listen, you believe this? Marketing department wants this report. I mean, what are they thinking about? You're like, oh no, they did the same thing to me last time. Now it defeats the purpose of the break. Okay. Nothing against Sharon. She's lovely. She's your work bestie. You want to talk to her. But maybe if you grab Sharon and said, come outside, let's go for a walk, that would be a better use of that connection. Right. And we're not allowed to talk about work while we're out here. Maybe we don't even talk at all. Maybe we just go for a walk together. So no talking. And then if Sharon is preparing something, you're very likely, because you're a people-pleasing perfectionist, going to want to have ideas or help her in some way, right? Which again is kind of expending your energy that you're trying to replenish. And then if someone is celebrating something, you want to celebrate with them, which again is that energy exchange. So no talking and no technology during the breaks. That's step 3. So step 1 is schedule it. Step 2 is time it. Step 3 is no tech, no talking. Step 4 is move. Got to get up and move. We sit way too much and we're doing the same thing usually over and over and over. You got to stand up. Even if you just get up, go to the bathroom, refill your drink, whatever. Stand up behind your chair, stretch your legs, stretch your arms, just, give a little, whatever, just we got to move. We got to reset our posture, move our hips a little bit, little forward fold, little seated cat and cow. You got to do something, move a little bit. And then the 5th method is press pause, which is where you come back in and you go, okay, I did all that, scheduled it. I didn't talk to anybody. I put my phone down. I moved a little bit, got up, and I came back and I went, now I'm reset. and I'm ready for whatever's next. That whole process can take 5 to 10 minutes. If you do that a few times a day, the cumulative effect over a week, 2 weeks, you're going to see dramatic decrease in your overwhelm and your stress and how you're able to handle it and your resiliency. So when something big happens, you can actually handle it a little bit better as well. So that is the easiest pathway to taking a break.
That is amazing. I love that.
Thank you.
That is absolutely something that in corporate America, and even still now, even working from my basement, I do just that. It's so important to pause, take a breath, get up, move, stay hydrated, right? You hit the nail on the head for every single piece of that, and I love it.
And if somebody wants you in that one window of time, right? So here's what we do. This is how we set the boundary. So let's say someone says, hey, can we hop on a quick call to talk about XYZ? When are you available? And you look at your calendar and you're like, oh, I had that break scheduled at 11. I can move my break. I can meet you at 11. No, tell him 11:15, tell him 11:30, right? And you don't have to do that with any type of justification, right? If you had 11 a.m. on there as your break and someone wants you at 11 a.m., just simply ask them, hey, I'm actually a little tied up at 11. Would 11:30 work for you? Would 10:45 work for you? Right? Give them some other options, because what we typically do is not that. We go, sure, I'll meet you at 11. Just going to take my break then, but I'll do it later.
Yeah. But you also deserve that break and rest in your day. You deserve those boundaries to continue to show up in your day.
You do. And I'm so glad you used that word, because it reminded me of something else here too, which is you don't have to earn your break. Being a human person means that you've earned it, right? And so, well, you don't have to earn it. Breaks and resetting for the purpose of what we're talking about here, for completing your stress response cycle, for getting rid of your allostatic load a little bit, is a necessity. It's as necessary as breathing air and drinking water and brushing your teeth. It is a human necessity. You don't have to do anything to earn your break. And that's a big hurdle that we have to overcome too.
Absolutely. And you also don't have to over explain it. I'm just not available at that time. I can, like you said, I can do this time and this time. I'm not available then.
No one can see your calendar.
Yeah. Right? It doesn't need an explanation. Nope. So I think that's such huge. Oh my gosh, people are going to get so much from you. I love this so much. So then let's talk too about how can leaders and companies create a culture where we support the employee wellness more without the idea of sacrificing results.
Yeah, so for leaders, this has to be more than lip service. It has to be more than we're checking off our wellness culture playbook checkbox for our shareholders to see, yeah, we take wellness seriously. It really has to be in the embodiment of it. So leaders who model this behavior are going to have teams that are not only healthier and happier, they're actually going to be more productive too. And so here's a great example. So there's one organization that I work with that started something called Flex Time. And this is so brilliant. I asked their permission. Can I share this with others? Because you guys, this is amazing. And they're like, yeah, tell anyone you want. It's fine. So what they instituted is something known as Flex Time. So every single employee gets 4 hours of flex time per week. And here's how it works. First of all, you don't have to use them, and they don't accrue. Like if you don't use them this week, you don't get 8 next week. Okay, it's not how it works. So they get 4 hours of flex time a week. Here's the parameters. You can only use 2 of those hours consecutively. You could use it I'm going to take 30 minutes here, I'm going to take 15 minutes there, right? But you can't use more than 2 hours consecutively, and you can't do the same thing every week. So you can't leave early every Friday and come in late every Monday, right?
Yeah.
And you can't be like, my kid has basketball every Wednesday, so I'm leaving every Wednesday at 3. That's can't be the same every week. You got to kind of flow it a little bit. And this came out of necessity is the mother of invention, right? So a staff member was really struggling with overwhelm. And when they were in their staff meeting and they were trying to really get to the bottom of it, what specifically is overwhelming, right? So that we can maybe address it. Is it your workload? Is it the nature of what we do? Is it the hours we have? What is it that feels overwhelming? And the staff kind of started chiming in and they said, okay, it's Christmas time and we're at work while our kids are at school. The kids get done school before we get on work. When is Santa going to do Santa's stuff? It'd be awesome if I could do those activities Thursday at my lunch hour and not have to worry about rushing back in 1 hour. It would be awesome if I could then take the presents home, stick them in the attic, whatever. And then while I'm there, maybe throw in a load of laundry. Those types of things are what make my life feel overwhelming. The mental load I have to carry for the whole family is so much, and I don't see a pathway out of that. If I could exercise at 10 a.m. rather than do it before work at 5 a.m. or after work because now I'm mom mode or whatever, or I'm taking care of my sick and aging parent, or I'm doing any number of things after work. Like if I could work it's like the other stuff, the mental load I'm carrying. And so they were like, oh, we can work with this. Like now that we know specifically what the overwhelm is coming from, we can work with it. And also, maybe you just had a super challenging client meeting that lasted 3 hours and you're like, I need more than a 10-minute break right now, right? I need to leave the office for a while. I'll come back, but I need so the flex time was invented for this reason. The reason that this company, it works, this particular one, is because the CEO, the COO, the CFO all use it. And so they put it on their calendar without explanation. They don't say, I'm going to go meet my spouse for lunch and we're going to take 2 hours, or I'm going to go golf, or I'm going to go whatever. I'm going to go get a massage. No explanation. Just, name a person. I don't know. Joe's flex hour, Joe's flex time. And that is a clear signal to everyone that I'm out, don't disturb me, and you know exactly when I'll be back. And because the leadership of the organization does it, that automatically gives permission to everyone else that it's okay to do this. It's not just they're saying, yeah, we'll have flex time. Go ahead and use it whenever you want. And then people still feel that guilt. I feel guilty for leaving work. I feel like I should be there. But when the leadership does it. So long answer. Sorry to your question of how can companies do this? The leadership has to lead by example in every way. And if they're doing it, it gives permission to everyone else to do it. And I'm telling you, people are more creative. They're more engaged. Their tenure, they're going to last longer at your company. Their productivity is going to go through the roof. If for nothing else, then they are rested, their overwhelm's gone, and they feel seen and heard and valued and appreciated. Right? And so, it's working. And so I've been trying to roll this out, share this with other corporate clients. Maybe 4 hours doesn't work for every company. Maybe 2 hours a week. It depends on the nature of your business, the size, how many employees you have, geography, where they are, the hours that they work. Are they working midnight to 6 a.m.? I don't know. But there are ways that you could implement things like that, but the leadership has to do it too. The leadership needs to stop taking their laptops on vacation, answering calls and making calls from vacation. You can now schedule text messages on iPhone and Android. Use that feature so that you're not, sending text messages at 10 p.m. and then saying, you don't have to respond to me when I send it. Well,
then don't send it.
Then don't send it. Yeah. So you can schedule emails. You can schedule text messages. So you can brain dump, fine, but then schedule it to arrive to that person at 8 a.m. the next day. So when leadership embodies these things and leadership takes their vacation and truly takes their vacation, then it allows other people to as well.
I think that's awesome. That's amazing, because then you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so exhausted, I need a break. I'm going to have to go hide in my car for 10 minutes to get away from people. But when they ask me where I was, I'll be like, oh, I just took a phone call and took a walk. You don't have to justify. That is so, to me, that feels like you're free. They trust you. There's that equal level of, we're all human. Let's all just be real with it. Just because you're at this level or this level, it doesn't matter. We're all human. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the human brain is not designed for uninterrupted productivity. It doesn't work that way. Literally, your brain does not work that way.
That's amazing, amazing, amazing. So I want you to, I see it behind you, grab your book, grab the book, And I would love for you to share with everybody obviously, we've heard so much from you, such amazing information. We have an inkling of what it's about, but what inspired you truly to write this book, and what message are you hoping your readers take away from it?
Yeah. So, seeing friends, colleagues, family members, myself really heading down this path of burnout and hearing kind of similar stories over and over and over and over again. Women taking their laptops to the hospital when they're giving birth.
Mm.
I remember the first time I heard that, I was like, what is wrong with you? But then I heard it from like a ton of other women too. So it wasn't like there's just one person. It like this is like a thing we do. I'm like, what is happening? And just really wanting to collectively trying to get everyone to slow down a little bit, slow down their thoughts, slow down the pace at which their day goes. Let's just slow it down. And that feels a little better than when you're a kid and someone tells you just calm down, or when even as an adult, someone says just calm down. I like to use the word slow down. Let's slow down a little bit, you know? And so this book is sort of a rally cry to just, I feel like I'm screaming into a hurricane and going, what are we doing? Let's just slow it down just a little while. And kind of gives the science behind why it's important, and then also the really specific tools. And there's real life stories in here. There's my story, there's stories of other people, going to the hospital and work's calling them.
Yeah.
Like we have no boundaries anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like the Wild West currently. And so this is hopefully helping that. And then, the introduction, I talk about my mom and her story and her battles with mental health and her mental decline as she was very young when she passed away. And it was from mental decline that never really got resolved. And again, it was so senseless, just this senseless way to live. Her health outcome was preventable. Now, so I'm now like yelling at everyone who's 40 or 30 or whatever and going, start now. We'll see if a different outcome.
Yeah. Absolutely. And you're never too old to start now. Just it's the
Yep.
awareness. You have
Yep.
to be very aware of it, and you have
Yep.
to be willing to say no or put the boundaries up without any explanation, because you deserve that too. We all do.
Yeah.
It's not just give, give, give. And as moms and women, we naturally want to give to others and take care of everybody. But one thing that very quickly I realized was I can't take care of anybody else if I'm not taking care of myself.
That's right. I mean, 100%. So yeah, you can't take care of anyone else unless you take care of yourself. And we talk a lot about, you hear people say, I got to fill my cup. And I'm over here screaming, like, our cups are too full.
Yes.
You got to empty your cup.
Yes.
Fill it with something good, but you got to empty what's in there, right? So I love analogies. There's a certain sect of therapy that talks about metaphors. We use metaphors a lot. And I literally have a book called The Big Book of Metaphors. I love metaphors. But I talk a lot about the dishwasher. Think of your allostatic load as like you're loading up your dishwasher, right? And you think, I can fit one more thing in there. If I just move this plate over here and put this bowl on its side and you're right, I could stick one more. I think I could, wait, there's one more coffee cup. I think I put in there. Oh, wait, I got this knife. Oh, there's not room for any more knives. Yeah, I can stick it in there somewhere. At some point, there's no more room for anything. And you have to stop. And the only way to have more room in your dishwasher is to stop putting more things in it, close it up for a while, clean it, take everything out, put everything away. Then and only then is there room for more. That's how your allostatic load works. Exactly. And so think of yourself like that. So when people say, like, I need to fill my dishwasher, I'm like, your dishwasher's too full. You need to empty it.
The door won't even shut.
The door won't shut. And there's some human that lives in your house behind you going, you could fit 3 more things in there. You're like, oh my God.
Mm.
Right?
Nope, it's going to sit on the counter.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're exactly right. And it's funny you mentioned that, because one of my yoga instructor that I started with several years ago, she said that exact thing to me one day. We were, as much as it was for the movement and the relaxation, also our conversations before class started were very uplifting. They really helped get your mindset in the right place. If you were coming into class with something that was kind of heavy, it helped you just kind of dump it out. And again, have that permission to enjoy the class.
Yeah.
And I
Where
came to
you are right
class
now. But you're
and
thinking about your email and your laundry and your
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. And I came to class one day and she looked at me and she said, you need to take a couple things out of your cup really quickly. Let's breathe real quick before we get started. Take a couple things out of your cup. Your cup doesn't need to be full all the time. That's not the point. The point is take some things out of it, breathe, give yourself some space and
Yeah.
some grace, and then show up on your mat.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you what, that was literally life-changing for me. Even in my day-to-day, I'm like, whoa, my calendar feels way too overwhelming. I need to take a few things out. Like you said, maybe I'll insert a 5-minute break here and then another one in 2 hours or once an hour, depending on my day. But
Yeah.
it's so important to not just let's fill.
Yeah.
Just because you need to feel like you've achieved something and you've hit those
Yep.
milestones and those, you've hit the numbers and the goals and all the things.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Let your team breathe. Let yourself breathe, because you're, like, to your point, you're going to be so much more productive.
Yeah, and this isn't a denunciation of ambition, right? This isn't saying, listen, I am achieving more now than I ever have, like beyond my wildest dreams, but I'm able to produce more now and I'm able to achieve more now because I have this pace for my day,
Yes.
right?
So,
And so it's a game changer when we start to get into you can actually achieve more when you slow down. And that's a really hard concept for people to understand.
yeah. Well, because you can be a lot more purposeful and focused.
Yep.
And then those are the things that compound to get you further ahead.
Yeah. And you have the mental bandwidth.
Yeah.
And you have the capacity to do it.
Yes. Absolutely. Then kind of to wrap everything up, this kind of led perfectly into the last question is, how then do you help those high achieving women level up their career without falling into the burnout cycle of total destruction?
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, right. So everything that we do is very interactive. This is, I never go into any workshop or session or retreat or anything where it's like I'm the authority standing here talking to you, telling you how to fix your life. I don't know your life. You're the expert on you. I happen to know a few things about stress and overwhelm, and anxiety. And I know how to help you slow it down and I know how to give you those tools. So the first thing that we do is kind of dive into what are people's specific pain points. And really that helps me learn specifically. Like I was talking about that group where they were like, the overwhelm actually isn't coming from work. It's coming from carrying the mental load of my whole life. Right. And again, the team was really surprised by that. They were coming up with these work strategies. Like we could change the hours. We could do this. We could do that. Give you an assistant. Like it's the work isn't the problem necessarily in that case. Right. So the first thing we do is figure out what precisely are those pain points. Try to help people get really clear understanding of why they are a procrastinator or why they're people pleasing or why they're a perfectionist and how this is actually affecting their life, and then leading into all the tools that help then give themselves permission to take breaks, to understand how to better care for themselves, and to ask to get their needs met as well. And then they also learn, the science and different things like that. And we do all of this through keynote talks at conferences and things like that, workshops, retreats, and like working directly, usually in a group environment.
That's awesome. Well, you also gave some quick wins for the listeners, and you also gave some resources. So I'll make sure to take those and put them in the show notes so everybody can pull back to that. Obviously, your website and your social media, we'll share all of that. And then lastly, would you like to tell everyone what you have coming up in March that they may be interested in joining you in person?
Oh yeah, thanks for that. So I have partnered with my good friend Ronna Renee Jackson, and we are hosting a retreat that is specifically for women. This is for high achieving women, and so Ronna Renee is a just total badass. Am I allowed to say that on here? She's a total badass, and she was an executive at IBM as well as a very large insurance company, and so she was at the top, and knows all the things about climbing that ladder and getting the burnout and all the things and being a mom and all of that. So she teaches women about leadership and how to level up whatever's next for you. So she's doing that sort of achievement part, if you will. So she's helping people, whether you are currently employed somewhere and you have a desire to move up either in that organization or be in the C-suite or something else at somewhere else eventually, or maybe you have a dream or desire to have your own business, or you already do have your own business and you're trying to sort of level that up a little bit. She's got all the tools for that. I come in with this other piece. Okay, so let's talk about how we do that. Everything Ronna Renee said, but yet, yet without burning ourselves out. So my piece is going to talk about, we're going to teach people how to have the right to disconnect. We're going to teach people about boundaries. We're going to dive way deep into our core values and our people pleasing and perfectionism and all the things, and they're going to get really specific tools. So it's immersive and it's all inclusive, and we actually are running special pricing now. So if somebody wants to reach out to me, we tell them what that special pricing is. But it's March 13th through the 16th. It's at Ogle Bay Resort in Wheeling, West Virginia. We're at a cabin. So the cabin sleeps like 15 people. And we actually only have a few spots left. So it's selling fast. So it is sponsored and presented by West Banco Bank. And so they are a presenting sponsor. We're very, very thankful for them. But this is going to be a great time. It's going to be totally confidential. And I really want to hone that in, because sometimes women work somewhere now and they have this dream of doing something else and they haven't really shared that publicly yet. And I want you to know this is a safe container. We actually are going to talk about confidentiality the minute they arrive. And so don't be afraid to come. If you've got some dream on your heart, but you're afraid, like, what will my current work think if they hear about this? This is a safe space to come and explore those parts of you. So it's going to be a little bit of the leadership workshop, a little bit of how to take care of yourself. We're also going to be doing things like sound bath and yoga and a hike. All your food is included. Of course, it'll all be healthy and great and nourishing. And you get this amazing community of women supporting you forever for whatever you need. So it is going to be an amazing time. We are so excited about the agenda. We can't even contain ourselves because it is amazing. And we also have a special guest facilitator who is an actor named Colin Egglesfield. And some people may know Colin. He was the male lead in the rom-com Something Borrowed, starring Kate Hudson and Jennifer Goodwin. And he was also on All My Children, and he's on a whole bunch of other things. And he is coming to talk about the art of communication. So really happy that he's going to be joining us as well. So it's going to be fantastic. There's only a handful of spots left. And like I said, we do have some special pricing. So come on in and come join us. It's going to be amazing.
That sounds awesome. What a great way. And too, is people want to start their new year with these resolutions, but get a few weeks in and you've already forgotten or dropped or, totally dropped off the wagon. In March, it doesn't matter. Regroup, come join them, get on track for the rest of the year and knock it out of the park while you're breathing and taking a break.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And there's actually going to be some things that happen after the retreat to help keep you on track as well. So it's not just for this weekend. So you get this whole thing. So it's we start with dinner on Thursday and we end with breakfast on Sunday. And it's going to be amazing. So come on. We have people coming from all over. There's people coming from all over the place. It's not just people who are local to that area, but it's going to be great.
That's so awesome. Well, I want to thank you for being here today and sharing everything that you have shared with our listeners. They are going to get so much from this interview and so much from following you and all of the resources. So I really want to thank you. And I hope we can also continue this conversation and do another chat another time for our listeners.
Thank you so much. This is awesome.
Yeah. Thanks, Joelle.